Welcome to the name game. Workout number 107 is Dollar Store Slushy. For time in a 20/14 pound vest, you'll start with a 1 mile run. Then you'll move to 3 rounds of 30 air squats, 30 push-ups, 30 air squats, and 30 ring rows. Please note that for the ring rows, the bottom of the rings need to be at 40/37 inches, and there needs to be a tape line directly underneath the bar, and the athlete's entire foot must stay beyond that line while they perform their ring rows. And kipping ring rows are not permitted.
Guess what, suckers? You gotta do ring rows.
And we're off. 1 mile run. We elected to do laps around the building so I could film them a little bit. We actually considered doing a different workout, and because it was raining, and Chris was like, I don't want to do that workout. I'd rather run in the rain. So Chris was a good sport. But that's why I start off kind of under the building, because I'm trying not to get the camera wet. And there's Riley.
Oh, there's Riley. Hey, Riley.
Hiding your face from the camera. So yeah, you can kind of see these run splits based on the screen here. We're skipping ahead a little bit, and you'll see it because this is such a long workout. We kind of do this throughout where it'll jump forward a little bit. So if you see that happen, it's just because we're not really wanting to commentate over a 30-ish minute workout, which has ended up being, spoiler alert. So you actually mentioned this right beforehand, that it's sort of like Murph-esque, which that is definitely the case, where it is a pretty long, grindy workout, a lot of gymnastics in the second half. So that being said, like, knowing that it's going to be a longer workout, knowing that it's going to sort of have that feel, how would you think about pacing this, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely use Murph as like not a direct correlation, but a marker, being that it's in a weight vest. You have a mile run, which is the exact way you start off Murph, and then the movements you have on the latter half are like you mentioned, Murph-esque. So I would use that as a pacing. I'll say a pacing guide, but this is obviously going to be faster because you don't have a second mile run, right?
Mm.
But you do have I'd say the kind of curveball where if you've never done, this is going to sound ridiculous, if you've never done ring rows in a workout, you'll be surprised at how blown up your lats and biceps get.
Yeah, I think I talked to Chris about this after the workout, but we compared the ring row to a push-up, where it's like such a simple movement that people don't respect it.
Mm-hmm.
So technically that was more like a 1,500 meter run, so it was actually just shy of a mile. I'll make more people do the actual mile route here, but just at the 7-minute mark, Chris finished that up. So he's cruising pretty good on the mile. Anyway, back to our point. Yeah, we kind of compared ring row to push-up in the fact that it's like very easy, so people tend not to respect that movement, where they just like, oh, I can do a big set and they'll rip through them. And then at a certain point, it's like when they get hard, they get really hard. It's like slow push-ups are like death.
Death. And it's like one of those things where, again, just to go back to Murph, I would say the vast majority of people who can execute pull-ups, because obviously there's a lot of people who can't, but if you're decent at pull-ups, like, I don't know if I've met someone who didn't say the push-ups are the hardest part of Murph, because you can't utilize momentum or athleticism to overcome fatigue like you can in a kipping pull-up, right?
Yeah.
And then the muscles in your small muscles in your chest and triceps are just not as strong or enduring as your lower half, right? For air squats. And so it becomes like, I did Murph. For those of you listening, we did Murph yesterday. Yesterday was Memorial Day, right? And, I'm fortunate enough to work out with a guy who's been a former games athlete, regionals athlete multiple times. And so
you can name drop one here, Chris,
So I work out with Mark. I did the workout with Marquand Jones, and, we did it straight through. Mile, 100 pull-ups, 200 push, like unpartitioned. And I mean, he was doing threes on the push-ups, and this is like one of the fittest individuals in the world, like easily top 100 fittest guys in the world, like probably top 50. And so it's like, if he's doing threes, like,
Yeah.
imagine, for me, it was just like, I was just hoping to get a little bit of rebound from the plate carrier to help
That's like the only
get off
advantage
the
to being in
floor
a
a little
vest
bit.
is that it cuts down your range of motion a little bit. You don't got to quite go all the way.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I think that's a great comparison with the ring rows to the push-up, because I don't, it gets to the point that your pulling muscles just get so tired.
Yeah. And there's constant tension on it. That's the other thing. Like it's even like this exact same, it's like mirrored on the raise and the lower, which like seems like super obvious, but like that doesn't happen all the time with like other movements, like a kipping pull up. Like you're basically going like circles with your shoulders, and it like allows you to tax different muscles on the eccentric and the concentric, like the raising versus the lowering. Whereas like you're basically in the exact same pattern the entire time in a push up or a ring row, and it just like keeps that tension on that exact same specific spot of the muscle too, and then it's just like it burns you up even more.
Oh yeah, and I would say that the ring row has even less respect than the push up, because it's like, no one uses a standard push up as 100%. No one goes into a class and is like, all right, so you can't do that, so you're just going to do a strict military push-up. The verse is just going to be like, well, I can't do that either, bro. Like, why are you giving that to me as a scale? Whereas it's like, CrossFit gyms across America is like, oh, you can't do a pull-up, do a ring row. Yep. And so it's like, it just creates this, well, I'm pretty good at CrossFit. Like, I'm never going to do a ring row. And then you look like an idiot come a workout like this.
Totally.
Especially if you're not, oh boy.
This is hilarious, because this is like the kind of thing that like you can't make up, because like I could just like see this happening at like a high level competition where they're like, oh shoot, it was raining and we didn't ever test it when it was wet because his feet keep sliding here. And luckily Riley comes in and saves the day and gives him a plate. But that's like something that like you'd never think about, but he was literally running outside the rain.
Yep. but yeah, so it's definitely, the only thing is like, if you're one of our athletes, I can guarantee you've done at least horizontal pulling in some capacity. So it's not like, oh crap, I've never even pulled in this movement pattern, versus someone who maybe just takes class and they're a good athlete. They might quite literally never do horizontal pulling.
Yeah. Well, not if they go to my gym.
Right.
No,
ours either.
It's actually quite frequent. Maybe not super frequent, but I will make sure that, just because it's literally like you said, like if you don't be very intentional about programming horizontal pulling, you typically won't see it. So it's literally just a matter of like, I'm going to reduce people to like a really tough ring row like this, or like a barbell bend over row and like accessory work type stuff, just because it's like, if you don't literally create opportunities for that, there's not like a lot of good options, especially in like a Metcon. Like it's one thing if you're doing it in like accessory work where you're doing like, prone rows or something, but it's really tough to get like a good stimulus in a workout with horizontal pulling. But this is a good option. Just a lot of people don't do it. Yeah.
I mean, that's not to toot our horn or your horn, right? But I think the gyms I work for and the gym you work for has pretty good programming. Like the last cycle we did, once a week we had bench press and supinated bent over row, and it was progressive, but it was like you're getting it in. And then like this cycle, like we have banded bicep and tricep work mixed in. So it's like that. It was funny. I was talking to one of our members, and as I'm getting just the sickest pump from doing my banded bicep work, I'm just like, I was like, what's really cool is that 10 years ago, like it would have been sacrilege just for us to do anything like this in a CrossFit gym, right? In a CrossFit class. But then I love how the pendulum swung back, where it's like, for a lot of people, who time is on a time crunch or want to have fun with fitness or whatever, this might not be best for them to be the bulk of how they train.
Right.
But we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater anymore, where it's like, you can do a strength movement, you can do a cool Metcon, and then we'll do the bodybuilding after to whether it's for joint health, whether it's for aesthetics, whether it's for, just feeling good about yourself walking out of the gym, like those are all okay. But yeah, there's great ways to program it into a class where you're not, like I dropped into a box one time, and I will not name drop for this, is like they had bent over rows as part of the Metcon. And I'm just like, this is stupid. like,
Yeah, very hard to standardize that.
yeah, I'm doing literally the workout was lateral burpees over the bar and barbell bent over rows at like 115. And I'm just like, this feels so silly. Like,
oh, my back feels gross just thinking about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, to each their own, but like, yeah, I totally agree. Like, there's ways you can mix it into a Metcon, right? Like, you could make the RX movement ring rows, right? You could standardize that for the class, or even like RX movement could be ring rows with elevated feet, right? To make it really hard.
Yep.
But yeah, I think horizontal pushing and pulling specifically is super important in a CrossFit setting. Especially, there's easy ways to mix it into a CrossFit class for no other reason than to at least have help with shoulder health.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like that's largely like obviously the pulling itself, and even something like a kipping ring muscle up, like you do get pretty horizontal. It is, as you're pulling your upper body over, it's almost like a Bulgarian ring row, which is why I give this a lot, but like it's like a variation of a ring row where you are horizontal to the rings and pulling yourself to the rings. So you do get that a little bit. Obviously that's super dynamic still and not like a great way to train it. But yeah, I mean, I think just having exposures to that horizontal pulling, like you're saying, it keeps you the whole shoulder healthy. And I know that's not what we're talking about today, but it's good for people like our athletes who are watching this to understand that like when we do kind of prescribe that sort of stuff, it could be for pulling, but it could also just be for like general health over the course of like multiple seasons to keep you feeling good. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not, because then those movements are not dynamic, right? Which can put a strain on the shoulder joint, but it also helps with the middle, right? And so what I mean by that is, it's like, okay, the people who get horizontal pulling in workout are people who can do ring muscle ups, or people who can't do anything and do ring rows, right? And so it's like,
or row on damper 10.
Right. And so it's like, okay, so the vast majority of the bell curve in the middle gets none of that, Yep. So yeah.
Very true. Yeah. So movements are definitely becoming a whole lot more labored at this point for Chris, as I think they do for everybody. To the point,
movement's definitely becoming more labored, where he thought he was doing ring rows and then had to go back to air squats.
Yeah. Oh, cameo.
Oh, who's that?
Stacy and Riley.
Look at that crew.
When you're filming a 30-minute workout, you can take those breaks. You're not going to do that in Fran.
So he's in round 2 here, correct?
I believe. Yes. Yep. And I don't know if I actually mentioned this in the intro, but we are standardizing knuckles to torso in the ring row as to the standard. So again, not touching the vest for a push-up. Touching the vest, like the plate carrier to the floor, is fine. But for the ring row, having to touch the knuckles past the vest to the chest itself is the standard.
Oh, frick, that's hard.
Yeah, I mean, that extra, it's like maybe 2 inches. It's a huge difference actually touching the chest every time versus just pulling.
Yeah, over the course of 90 reps? Heck yeah.
Yeah. And that was sort of like the other thing that was intentional about this workout, is that it was like a lot of people have only ever done Murph where it was Cindy rounds, like 5, 10, 15. And this, while it was bigger chunking, it allowed for like obviously like 30 reps in each of these movements. But hitting air squats twice, where that's obviously going to be a bigger muscle group and more enduring, it gives you more of like that strong stimulus, but then you get a longer break before coming back to it again. So you kind of can push up to that muscular failure point almost towards the end of that 30, and you're probably going to have some life left in your arms the next time you come around. Still going to be a little bit careful, but it allows you to play a little bit more.
Right.
Any comments on this ring row standard? Think it's something we could see down the line?
I mean, I wouldn't put anything past them at this point. With that being said, Bosman seems to be going way in the other direction, versus like,
yes and no though, because
every
like, yeah, I mean, like for example, they program like single runners at the games, and that's something where it's
true.
like, so I feel like I'll let you finish your point. I interrupted you, but I do feel like he sometimes will like go back to like those really basic skills.
Yeah, and I think what I was going to say is he's basically has said that if you're going to be a semifinals athlete, you got to be basically a Cirque du Soleil, a performer. But as you say that, you're right. It could be something where Bosman could say like, hey, this should be a requisite gymnastic skill or bodyweight skill that you should have, right?
Yeah.
And so in the open, now, I wouldn't want them to do the ring rows in an open setting simply because as someone who runs gyms, that could be an absolute logistical nightmare. However, if there's anything we've learned over the years is that they don't really care about that. They're like, no, they're like, we're going to throw this out. And you know what? The joke's on them because I know the gyms are going to try to figure it out. So, maybe they do.
He's just laughing at his desk like, this gym's going to blow their profit on duct tape this month.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, there's no way we have enough ring rows to have to run adequate heats at our gyms. No way.
But that being said, like I feel like the open, if it was going to come out, would be the perfect spot because it is supposed to be like this like rudimentary version of like what the game season is, and it's like, hey, here's your prerequisite pooling ability is just being able to do the basic, the humble ring row, like the wall walk. Yeah. It's like, do we really have to do this again? Like, but hey, here we are, and it's like a couple years later, and it's like a staple now in the programming.
Yeah, we have our cycle at the gym. It's like this current cycle. It was in like the tester that Marquand wrote up for the 6 weeks. So we do it every single week, once a week. And so it's like, we're here. Who knows? Maybe he could be like, just envisioning like at a semifinal event. They're like, guess what, suckers? You got to do ring rows. But 130 of them in a row.
Yeah.
Because I say that because
you have to do 100 ring rows.
Yeah, because I was just listening to a podcast, and not to get too far off track because he's almost done here, but it's like, they were griping about CrossFit and how sometimes they'll program things that don't highlight the athletes well. And I'm just envisioning them come up with this awful workout with ring rows, and the athletes just look like idiots.
Yeah.
They're like, these guys are the best.
They're like, well, here's the commentators are stuck like commentating ring rows for like 7 minutes in the middle of the workout.
I know.
Here we go.
Can you believe it? A no rep on the ring row. Real bottleneck here, Sean.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, I think that little bit of extra range of motion is making a huge difference here. I mean, Chris is pretty good upper body pulling. He's done. I think he can do 20 plus strict pull-ups. So just a little bit of perspective for people watching. He's good at the upper body pulling stuff, and bodyweight gymnastics are like, this was like a fun workout for him to test, and it was still quite grindy here at the end.
And now, is this Murph-esque in the sense that like muscular fatigue was just the total limitation?
Yeah, more like the Cindy rounds of Murph, right? Like at this point, he's not even breathing super hard anymore. It's more like shaking out the arms and like wishing he had more pulling power. And same thing with like the push-ups. Yeah. Which is like often the case by the time you get to the end of whatever, the push-ups or the pull-ups. Even if you partition them, it's usually like, well, just couldn't go any quicker.
Yeah, like I did it unpartitioned yesterday. And by the end, I was just like, I'm not even breathing heavy. Like I'm just, my arms hurt so much. I can't do it anymore.
Though. Yeah. I mean, hey, and that sort of thing's tested sometimes, so it's what you got to be ready for.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I think that was it. Nope, he's shaking his arms out. He's going back. So, but we're almost there. False alarm. But yeah. Any last thoughts about the workout, Chris?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think it's a cool little nuance to get a long workout, muscle endurance style workout in, and yeah, I think it's something to something we've tried to do with these name game workouts is kind of mix between classic CrossFit combinations, but then also kind of try to get nuanced or creative because of the fact that you never know what's going to come out.
What was your strategy going into it?
Go semi-easy on the run and then do big sets that I think I could sustain for all 3 rounds and the rest of it.
How was it relative to what you expected?
It was worse than what I thought it was going to be. The ring rows really blew up your arms and became tough to do after that. Along with the push-ups, those 2 combined are really good at taxing arms.
Yeah. I mean, we both thought it was going to be a shorter time to min than it ended up being.
Yeah, we thought 20. It's 30. Maybe 20 if you're Ben's fitness.
Yeah, but like definitely probably north of 20 minutes for most people.
Yeah, that's pretty safe to say.
Hey, nice work, dude.
What?
Nice work.
Oh, thank you.
You're still a little out of it. It's all good.
Alrighty, folks, it's that time. Be sure to submit your scores to the leaderboard at zoarfitness.com/TNG. You're more than welcome to share this and take it on with some friends, and best of luck on the workout.